Good evening, I'm David Susskind. Tonight you're going to meet two great show business veterans who are better than ever today. One of the foremost strippers in burlesque and a singer who is known as the Black Marilyn Monroe. Their names are Sherry Britton and Joyce Bryant. They're going to show you, demonstrate the talent that put them right at the top. And part two, Nouveau is better than no riche at all. We'll begin after this pause. My next guests are electric, dynamic entertainers. They're really quite brilliant and unique. And you're going to see for yourself in a few moments because they're going to perform just for you. Please meet them now. First, Sherry Britton. She began her career as a strip teaser when she was 13 years of age. Several years ago, she retired, not quite, and she went to college. She graduated magna cum laude from Fordham University, and she is about to enter law school. She recently put together a show reprising the grand old days of burlesque, and it played at Carnegie Hall. Joyce Bryant was 14 when she started her singing career in 1942. Within 10 years, she was a real star, a major star, and she was known then as the Black Marilyn Monroe. She left this business to work as a missionary for more than 10 years. She's now back teaching, coaching, and performing better than ever. My God, it's inconceivable that you were 13 when you started and you were 14 when you started.
It's hard to believe when I look back and I look at that little girl with the Shirley Temple curls, and I have a photograph that has me with my hands in front of my bust and this sweet, innocent smile. And I cannot believe it. I look at 13-year-old children on the street and I say, I was strip teasing, and this was at the People's Theater.
Now, wait a minute. Well, wait a minute. You can't be a strip tease artist. At 13, you're a little girl.
I know.
Did you have a big bosom?
I was 38, 18, 33. I was only 5 feet tall, but I was, you know, very well developed. Didn't know what in the world I was doing. I was taught to be a provocateur. And I had no, the people backstage.
Do you believe this, Joyce?
But the same thing sort of happened to me, because I was, like at 15, 16, I was a sex symbol. So, and I didn't know what it was all about. So it was really a crazy kind of thing. I think this, perhaps...
There were no parents in both your cases.
No, there were parents. I had parents, but I mean, they were certainly not involved with this.
Did you live with them?
Yes.
Oh, see, I didn't.
And they were horrified, but see, it wasn't that I lived a double life.
Well, in those days, couldn't parents say no, no, and mean it and enforce it?
Yes, I guess so. I guess they could, and many times they did. But I was threatened with reform school and all of that. I mean, I wasn't a bad person. I wasn't doing anything bad. I wanted to sing. And I wanted to sing.
See, my case was entirely different. I came out of a divorced home when I was 2.5, orphan asylums, 15 foster homes, so that it was a case of sleeping at a girlfriend's one night, at an aunt's another night, and here I was, a child, a 13-year-old child, with a woman's body, and someone said, would you like to be in burlesque? And I said, fine. They took me down.
Well, who had to sign permission?
Nobody had to sign permission when you looked mature. And as
How
far
old
as...
did your bosses think you were?
Oh, they thought that I was at least 18. I guess nobody questioned. I went to California.
I think the same with me, yes.
Yeah. I went to California when I was 14 as the big New York star. Nobody ever asked. We were raided my first week there. Oh, boy. And
the police?
I said, yes, had raided the Burlesque Theater because it was election time. Pardon me. And I said to my boss,
well,
my
they don't
God,
understand. Burlesque doesn't exist today.
No, not
Burlesque
as it was then.
Was vaudeville with raucous sketches, suggestive, kind of sexy sketches.
So sweet and innocent nowadays.
Oh, well, yes, compared to
and the
blue
striptease.
movies,
Yes.
pornographic movies, it was kid stuff. But
Completely.
then, It was very titillating.
Oh, yes. So I said to my boss
Now,
when...
burlesque, I would just have to finish.
Yes.
In between the sketches, the raucous body sketches, well-endowed women came out
Right.
and strip-teased. They
Right.
took their clothes off slowly to a kind of sensuous rhythm.
And each one had a different gimmick,
Yeah.
as there was in
There
Gypsy.
was Ann Corio, Georgia,
Southern.
Hurricane Southern. There was Sherry Britton. There were, who were some of the other greats? The tiger, the lady with the snake.
Oh,
yes,
Zorita.
Zorita.
Yes.
She stripped while a snake. Oh,
That's pretty heavy.
it's unbelievable. You went, didn't you? Mm-hmm. And then there was Roxanne.
Yes.
She was Mrs. Kingfish Levinsky. She had married a fighter, and she divorced him, and she married Red Buttons. She was Red Buttons' first wife, and she was 20 times his size. But they were very much in love for 2 minutes.
No, well, Red, yeah, well, he's a great friend of mine. I don't
Yes,
want to
nice
discuss
guy.
his marriage. Then there were other artistic names, Gypsy Rose
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
She was before my time. She left burlesque before I got into it.
Now, singers at 14,
Yes.
you had parents. You weren't in foster homes and you weren't in orphanages.
No, but you see what I did? I made a trip to, I was born in Oakland and reared in San Francisco. All right, now I made a trip with a cousin of mine to Los Angeles, to an aunt who was a little more permissive than my parents. And she allowed us to do things, not bad things, but just allowed us freedom. I just did not have that freedom as a child, or who needs freedom as a child. But my aunt didn't stop me from going and doing things, and I had never been to movies. I'd never gone to a movie prior to that, so that was the most fascinating thing to me in the beginning.
Well, you got to explain that you were a Seventh-day
I was
Adventist.
Seventh-day Adventist, right.
And her parents were ultra orthodox and
Very strict, yes.
So that going to a movie, a
Oh yes,
dance,
that was just
listening to
verboten,
jazz
right,
was
absolutely,
unthinkable.
just absolutely unthinkable.
So you were
And a
jumping
kiss.
in with both feet.
I read your biography.
Oh my goodness.
You believed, your mother said to you, from your earliest recollection, if you kiss a man, you'll have
get
a
pregnant,
baby.
right.
You'll have a baby.
You'll have a
I
baby.
believed that too.
Yes.
Did you?
Oh, sure. I didn't have anyone to tell me that it wasn't so.
Right. It seemed like this was the thing to say to a young person. I don't know, because I've met other women my age, or what have you, and they tell me this too, and it seems like we were just stupid or dumb or whatever. But this is true. I guess I was too young for her to say to me, I guess, all the steps. What happened. So she said, just don't let a man kiss you. If he kisses you, you're going to get pregnant. You'll have a baby.
Well,
Don't
you
let
see,
him
they
touch
didn't
you,
have the educational programs
true.
then,
It's true.
either in school or on TV or in print media. You couldn't say pregnant.
No.
Now, I was on a show with Bert Lauren, which I wore a bathing suit. I think it's about 1958, which is not that long ago. And I had a flower this big in my cleavage, and I had to wear pantyhose. This was on television.
I should hope so.
So that it was a world apart, and it all fostered a child's ignorance.
Listen, my father in Brookline, Massachusetts, a cultured, elegant, wonderful man, was besieged by my mother nightly to tell me the facts of life at 12, 13. And one night she said, do it now. And he took me into the library in Brookline. And he said, David, stop what you're doing. If you don't stop, you're going to be blind in one eye.
Oh my
One leg's going to be shorter than the other. You'll never meet a decent girl, and if you do, you'll never have children. So stop it.
This is a
Starting
different
tonight.
version.
This is the same kind of advice you got.
Yes.
If you
yes.
kiss somebody, you'll be pregnant.
Except that most boys said, I don't care if I do go blind.
Yeah, and I don't need two legs. Listen, because this is a show and tell program,
Yes.
in other words, we just don't talk, we vivify, we demonstrate. I would like the world to see what it is you did so brilliantly, beginning at age 13, but this, of course, was in your maturity. You may have been 25 at this point. This
No,
is Sherry
this one,
Britton.
thank you. Let me prepare it a little
Well,
bit.
you got to, okay.
This is a show that I did originally at Carnegie Hall, and I revised it a year and a half ago. But the original striptease, the music, and the dance were born at Leon Netti's on 52nd Street into the 1940s. So it's what you will see on the clip is 40 years old, except for the body. The body is only a year and a half ago. So you can judge for yourselves.
Yeah, have a look at this body. This is Sherry Britton. What
am
a-
in shock that this is going to appear on television. I'm still left over from 20 years ago.
Oh, listen, this is
This is beautiful.
Thank
this
you.
is mild. I mean, today
Very,
with soft corn and porn and
Oh, I know it.
Yeah.
listen,
no,
you were and are a beautiful, teasing witch.
Thank you, David.
You drove grown men wild, and I remember one of them quite well.
Listen to him.
It was I.
This is the first time he has admitted it. The last time I was on your show a couple of years ago, the other girls knew about it, and you wouldn't admit it. You said, I don't want to talk about it. What changed your mind? Why are you willing to accept the fact that we were together at some portion of our lives?
Oh.
I just want to say that I never, when I knew you,
Yes.
could ever stand, nor did I ever watch your act.
Never. You'd
I
walk
thought
out.
nice women don't do such
Yeah.
things.
Again.
And if they do, and you couldn't have been nicer and more respectable, then I'm not going to watch her do such things.
You were really
Because I didn't want to
Boston
see
and-
the lascivious, lewd faces of your audience.
Do you know children grew up watching me?
I don't want to think about that. We'll be right back, and you're going to see this beautiful Bryant woman, Joyce Bryant. She's a great performer. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, Joyce Bryant, as a singer, begins where all other singers leave off. She's just a brilliant, gifted musician, a voice that's unique, a voice that is a phenomenon. She's done opera and has played many of the great operas, Aida, Carmen, and so forth. But she's a pop singer in a great and unique tradition, her own. Joyce Bryant is Joyce Bryant. And I hope somewhere out there watching are nightclub owners, if such there be anymore in America,
Hardly.
circa 1984 or 83. Joyce, you're just wonderful. I admire you tremendously. And now I just want you to sing whatever you choose. Several things about her before she begins. She's a great musician. She's a great singer. And her selection of material is no little a part of her great skill. Notice what Sinatra sings. Notice what Nat King Cole sang. Notice what Ella Fitzgerald sings. Part of the wonder of those people, the magic of them, is what they select to sing. Listen, watch.
Thank you.
Her pianist is Don Sturrock.
Yes.
Don Sturrock is the gifted pianist.
Magnificent.
Here he is.
Thank you.
Here she is.
Thank you. Maybe I didn't love you quite as often as I could have. And maybe I didn't treat you quite as good as I should have. And if I made you feel second best, and I'm sorry I was blind, but you were always on my mind. You were always on my mind. And maybe I didn't hold you all those lonely, lonely times. and I guess I never told you. I'm so happy that you're mine. Little things I should have said and done, but I never took the time. But you were always on my mind. You were always on my mind. Oh, tell me that your sweet love hasn't died. Give me one more chance to keep you satisfied. Oh, I'm gonna keep you satisfied. I should have said and done, but I never took the time. But you were always on my mind. 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 Running wild, lost control, running wild, mighty bold, feeling gay, reckless too, heavy mind all the time, never blue, always going, don't know where, always showing, I don't care, don't love nobody, it's not worthwhile, all alone, running wild. No guy is gonna make a fool of me. No guy, I mean just what I say. I'm not the simpleton I used to be. I wonder how I got that way. I'm running wild and I've lost control. I'm running wild, feeling mighty bold. I'm feeling just like a happy child. Running wild. I'm always running, but I just don't care. I'm always going and I don't know where. Don't love nobody cause it's not worthwhile. Oh, running, always going. I don't know where. I'm always showing I don't care. Don't love nobody. It's not worthwhile because I'm gone. I'm gone. Hey, David, I'm gone. I'm running wild. You better catch me if you can. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You ask me if I loved you, and I choke on my reply. I'd rather hurt you honestly than mislead you with And who am I to judge you on what you say or do? I'm only just beginning to see the real you. And sometimes when we touch, the honesty's too much, and I have to close my eyes and hide. I wanna hold you till I die, till we both break down and cry. I wanna hold you till the fear in me subsides. Romance and all its strategy keeps me battling with my pride, and through its insecurity, some tenderness alas. I'm just a lonely woman, still searching for the truth. Yes, a lonely woman, still trapped within my youth. And sometimes when we touch, the honesty's too much, and I have to close my eyes and hide. I wanna hold you till I die, till we both break down and cry. I gotta hold you till the fear in me subsides. At times I'd like to break you and drive you to your knees. Well, at times I'd like to break through and hold you endlessly. At times I understand you, and I know how hard you've tried. I've watched while love commands you, and I've watched love pass you by. At times I think we're drifters, still searching for a friend, a brother and a sister. But then the passion plays again. Sometimes when we touch, the honesty's too much, and I have to close my eyes and hide. I wanna hold you till I die, till we both break down and cry. I gotta hold you till the fear in me subsides.
just,
Thank you.
it's just that abused word, great. You're a great performer, great singer, and a great musician. Don Sturrock at the piano. He is something else. I want to say you have no idea about the photography, but I'm very proud of our crew. And Chet Lishua, our director, you were lovingly photographed.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
it. Thank
really.
you.
They did.
I'm anxious to see it.
They did proud by your artistry, and I think you'll be very happy when you see it. Now look here, in television land, if you own a nightclub, a hotel, a resort, a ship,
Anything.
I mean, Joyce Bryant is something unique and marvelous. She's a singer of distinction and brilliance. Anyway, she wants to sing around this country and around this world. We're going to rejoin Sherry Britton, who I had to stop from stripping because she got so excited.
So wonderful, so beautiful.
We'll be talking with Joyce Bryant and Sherry Britton right after this pause. Go.
I'd like to say something about Joyce. Joyce takes me back to the marvelous days of 52nd Street when people were truly appreciated for a unique ability. You'd have had your own nightclub with people beating a path to your door for years. For years, you wouldn't have had to be in this place 2 weeks or that place a month. And it's rather sad to think that the world has speeded up to such a degree that true value doesn't have time to shine. Because I cannot tell you how much you moved me. I have been a producer, I have been a director, I've done everything in show business. And you moved me and everybody standing out there to tears and to laughter and to happiness and to joy. I just hope fervently that you get the kind of career that you deserve.
Oh, thank you so
Well, she's
much,
going to have
Sherry.
it because, you see, you talk as if it's all over.
No,
This
I
is
would
the
like
land
to...
of opportunity, America,
But you know what-
USA, 1984. And I'm here to tell you, I'm going to do a 1-hour special with Joyce. If you want to
Oh.
strip a little. As
Why,
an
I'm
inter-
also a singer. And I
Well, we can't
adore
have
to
two
sing.
singers on the
Why? How many?
Because
how
I-
many? Edie Gourmet and others have. Carol Burnett and who did she sing with?
You
Who did
don't, you don't mind in my own production if I book
Yes,
talent.
I do mind.
But you know what I think she's
Why
saying,
don't
Jennifer?
you sing with Joyce? I've heard you sing,
What?
and I like
Well, so
it.
maybe we'll work out a duet or something.
Well,
on
I'm
that
never
special,
going to
or
do it
two.
on a...
Well, why not?
Well, because it's unthinkable, but I'll do something right here with you.
Right now?
Yeah, without a piano.
Oh,
right?
listen to him, please. You're kidding. Like what?
I don't
I'm
know.
terrible on lyrics. I'm serious now about this. I mean, if you pick up a song
Embrace
that-
me, my sweet embrace of you.
Embrace me, you irreplaceable
Irreplaceable
you. Just
Just
one look at you, my heart grew tipsy in me. You and you alone bring out the gypsy in me. I love Oh, yes.
The many,
the many
charms
charms about you.
Above all.
Above all, I want my
arms
arms about you.
Don't be a naughty boy.
Don't be a naughty baby. Come to Papa, come to Papa, do. My sweet embrace of you. Anyway, that may be the first and last appearance musically.
I thought it was
Of the
cute.
Andrews sisters.
I thought it was just
The Andrews
wonderful.
sisters.
Well-
My God, yes. I could do it because I have an old wig that I play with.
All
May I
right.
tell you a story about Laverne Andrews?
Laverne Andrews.
It's rather a sweet story, I think. I think we were the only two mature women in show business who hadn't been married, whatever the reason. She was not very lucky romantically. And we met again a couple of years later, and we had both gotten married. And she said, I see that you gave up the ghost and you got married. So I said, yeah. I married the first man who didn't try to take me to bed. And she said, I married the first one who did.
That's
She
cute.
was such a sweet lady, she really was.
Some of you women were just made for marriage, you know. You've been married.
Yes. Married once at a very early age. It was ridiculous, too. It was a ridiculous age at 14.
14 years
14.
old.
At 14.
Did you have any children?
No.
Have
You
had
mean out
it?
of that marriage?
Yeah.
Yes. No. It was a silly thing. It was never consummated. And
Why were you married
well,
at
let me tell
14?
I don't know. It's so silly, but I think I wanted to leave home. I wanted to get away from the diapers and all of that. I have a huge family. And I had this terrific crush on this guy. And
How old was he?
He was much older than I shouldn't say much older, but
16.
No, he wasn't. He was about 20 years old.
Right.
But I was a pretty well-developed 14-year-old. And
This is
So-
a well-developed evening, isn't it?
I'm
you were
afraid so.
13, you were 14. All right, go ahead.
And stayed developed.
Yes. But what happened, so we went to Reno to get married and left San Francisco and ran to Reno to get married. Now, I got married to leave home. I don't know what he got married for, but the interesting thing, at that time when we got married, it was really bad. It was very prejudiced and all that in Reno. And so we went to the Justice of Peace and did that. And we were walking down a street, and I saw in the window, there was a woman standing with this beautiful negligee on with a little dog, a little play dog, right, not a real animal. He wanted me to have the negligee, and I wanted the dog. And this is this is silly. What can I tell you? And so, because he wouldn't get the dog for me, I went to the bus station and came home. And that was that.
That was the
my
end of that
marriage.
marriage?
That was the end of it.
Was he white or black?
He was a black man.
Right.
You know, my marriage, my first marriage.
How many men have
ended-
asked you to marry him?
Thank you. I've been very, very lucky, David. I really have been very lucky in that a lot of men have desired me, but I was
I didn't
petrified.
ask that.
Who want you to marry me?
Thousands have desired
I
you.
was
haven't had
very,
thousands
very
wanting to,
fortunate,
but-
but I was skittish about marriage.
No, but how many
I-
men have genuinely said, Sherry Britton, marry me, please?
How many?
Would you
Well,
ca-
I will tell you, I will make a statement that my present husband derides like crazy. I was engaged 15 times. I was very comfortable when I was engaged, but when it came to getting married, I was frightened. I can't tell you
The
all the
same with
blood
me, though,
tests I
right.
took
I've never-
to placate men, to let them think that I was going to marry them, and when it came to the last moment, I just couldn't do it. So when I did get married at the age of 37, it was because of pressure from all kinds of people saying you should be married.
That was your
and the
first
fact
mar- oh,
that was my first marriage, and the fact that I wanted a child, you see, and I thought, well, it's time. And I married a very talented young man, but someone that I should never have married. He's been married 6 times.
Woo.
And yes, he was not well, but obviously I was sicker than he was, otherwise I wouldn't have married him.
But you
And
thought you were
during-
going to change him maybe or something.
Yes, that's a fallacious idea that you
it
go
really
into
is.
marriages with.
It really
But I got pregnant immediately, which is what I wanted, and took DES, which is another story, and it
What's
did not
DES?
Haven't heard
diethylstilbestrol or something. It is something that young children of women who gave birth during that time, they have developed cancer from it.
So it's
and
not
it's
recommended
a
by you.
bad,
It's not
no, it's a
horrendous
bad thing, and it didn't help, and I lost the baby. And he said to me, with the great sensitivity that he had, he said, well, I threw you the ball and you dropped it. So that marriage lasted 2 years. My opening night on Broadway in a George Abbott play, Drink to Me Only, my lawyer brought me my annulment papers, and that was the end of my first marriage. And I did not get married again until 12 years later to the man I'm married to now, and this is a delight.
Right? Oh, how wonderful.
It's a delight. But he's stuck for the rest of his life. He's never going to get rid of me.
No one
Ever.
would be stuck with either of you. I mean, my God, you're beautiful women.
Thank you.
You're wonderfully gifted women and stuck.
May I tell you another story about 52nd Street?
Well,
No,
you can
but this
when
is
we
marvelous.
come back,
Okay.
because there's a man doing that awful sign, you know, which means, it doesn't mean
Any
kill
blood?
you. No, it
No?
just
All
means
right.
stop now.
Okay.
Oh, we're coming back to that picture of you at your zenith last year, when you were the star of Leon and Eddie's. Listen, you, Joyce, were known as the Black Marilyn Monroe, and you, Sherry Britton, were the star headliner at Leon and Eddie's.
And at one point they called me the White Lena Horne. Can you picture anything as sensational as being called anything in connection with Lena Horne?
Yes.
That was the most thrilling write-up I ever.
Incidentally, you've
Unwarranted,
anticipated
but
me.
thrilling.
I have a quotation of Lena Horne's, which absolutely struck me. And who better to talk about it than, well, for example, Joyce. Lena Horne said about show business for a black woman that it was absolute agony.
It is.
She said that the vultures and all, show business, said Lena Horne in 1973. I suppose she'd say it today. Show business is a rotten profession for a black woman. It's filled with spoilers and takers. You have to hold on by your fingernails. Someone really has to be in your corner to survive. Someone solely for you.
Yes, it's true. I believe that. I really believe that.
Is it worse for a black woman in show business than a white woman? It seems to me they're
It would
both
have to
subject
be.
to spoilers.
No, I think limiting someone because of their
From
color
that standpoint,
is
yes.
in any area.
Yes.
Is difficult in any area.
I think more, as far as the black woman, there's always a token, which infuriates me. You know, we just have to have one here and one in specific fields. I came up, the funny thing, singing, they didn't know what to do with me, how to slot me. We already had a Lena Horne. We had Ethel Waters. We had Elizabeth Sarah, Ella Fitzgerald. And where did I fit in this? So when I first started singing, I was told, well, there are 10,000 white women doing what you're doing, so why don't you sing what you know best? So I don't know what they were talking about, because I was singing what I knew best, or singing about what little life's experience I had or what I felt. But then they wanted to say that I was like Lena Horne. Well, I don't think that we're alike at all. Now, maybe because of the gowns, I was, of course, much slimmer and sexier and that kind of thing, but I was nothing like Lena Horne. I think that I'm very, very much my own.
Oh, yeah. Why do
See, I
people
think the
say we
pigeonhole, categorize.
be like Lena Horne,
Yeah,
or you
I
are
do.
like
Because
Jane
they
Fonda, who is
want a
wonderful?
one, and you have to have someone to.
No, you don't.
I
if
don't
you know
think
talent.
No, they
right.
do.
They do.
Think.
I don't know who they.
No, but you haven't answered the key question. You're both women, so that you have in common. But they're in show business. Lena's gone too far with that quotation, because in my view, the spoilers and takers pertain to white and black women. It isn't that you're a black woman.
No, it's true, but I think it's compounded. Okay, because you must know that doors are closed. Sure, they're closed to many people,
Not
but
today. Not
so
73
much
when
today.
she said that.
No.
Not 83.
Well,
not 84.
I'm not going to
73,
say
you'd
that.
be
73,
surprised.
I think so.
Be
Yes,
surprised.
Yes.
That's 10 years ago.
Yes. And then, you know, David, too, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I still can't. I want you a year, 2 weeks
Where? Here in New York.
here in New York.
Well,
and
that's your
it.
election. You could sing.
No, I would love to sing. I would love to sing. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
You could sing.
No, I would love to sing. 2 weeks. 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 2 weeks I would
Well,
love.
have you tried the Blue Note?
I don't. The Blue Note is what, a jazz house, right?
No, I mean, Joe
don't
Williams
know.
was there.
I don't know the Blue.
Hell, I'm going to talk to the owner.
Okay, because I'm going to tell you something. Either I've been told I am too stylized or too, what is the word, too specialized, or I don't believe in this garbage. I really don't.
I don't believe that has anything to do with you being black, though.
I'm not
I
saying
think it
that,
has to
but
do with
I said
economics.
compounded. That's why I
Yes,
said no. I'm
yeah.
not saying that it's all a whole or black or white situation.
Yeah.
I think I have that too. All right. I think also there must be some place for a black performer. Now Lena Horne, because she's very established. You know,
But Lena
she's
Horne's very white. I mean, there's a place for a great talent. Forget color.
yes.
I mean, there should be a club in New York. Ideally, you should have your own club.
Yes.
And it should
Yes.
be called Joyce's Place.
I
Yes,
would love
absolutely.
that. I would
And,
Can you
uh,
love
help,
that.
David? Do you want to invest?
I
Yes,
would
I
love a
will.
thing
Well,
like
at the
that.
moment, I'm sort of invested. But if you come around next week,
Do you have friends though?
oh, I have a lot of
A
friends.
lot of friends.
And a lot of
I would
acquaintances.
love to do that.
That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, Joyce's Place. And you should be the hostess, and once in a while you should drop around and say hello and
Oh, I would do
go
that. I
around
like
the tables.
that. I'm a people
But
person
essentially,
anyway.
twice a night, you
Yes.
should sing
Yes, I
for
would love
about
that.
45 minutes.
I would love it.
Let's see if David can make it come true.
That would be
right?
Well, I can do
wonderful.
that, but I've got a few things. But I will take that on. I will
Okay.
take
That's
that on.
marvelous.
But I want you to know today, in the 80s, it hasn't got to do with white and black.
No, no, I
It
don't-
does have to
right.
do with a woman. A
Yes.
spoiler and a taker
Yes.
will always try to take advantage of a woman for simple sexual reasons.
Yeah.
You know, you're
Yeah.
very appealing.
No, I don't think it's a black and white thing now. I think even in the 70s, yes. I think more doors are open now. I really believe, but
There's no
then-
door shut now.
No.
Unless you
Right.
want to join a country club that doesn't want Jews and Puerto Ricans and
and
blacks.
who wants to join anyway?
And I wouldn't wish to be a member of a club
That's
that would
right.
have me.
Nor I.
Well, you're trying to, I think you're making me feel
That's a
neglected.
Groucho Marx line.
No.
Because I don't believe that
You're
my
Jewish,
whole-
aren't you?
Yes, I am Jewish.
Can you imagine a Jewish stripper?
Nobody could. In fact, for many, many years, I was not permitted to mention it. And let me tell you one specific story. that
Imagine
happened
going
during-
home and telling your
This
mother, I'm
is-
getting married. And your mother says yes. The good news, mother, is the good news is she's Jewish. The
Let me
bad
tell
news
you-
is she's a
She's a
strip
stripper.
teaser.
Let me tell you about my husband, who is Jewish, and his mother objected to me violently.
Can't blame her a
Because
bit.
you're a
And-
stripper, right? You were a
Yes,
stripper.
because I was a stripper. It doesn't matter that I've starred in 51 plays, Broadway, legit shows. That doesn't
A
matter.
stripper is a stripper
all-
is a
Is a
stripper.
stripper. And his mother objected to me violently, and he said, "But Mama, she's Jewish." She said, "What does that matter? She's a stripper." It didn't matter what I was.
Right.
Now, let me tell you the story about World War II. A soldier sent me a double wallet with 2 photographs of myself that he had taken from a dead soldier. And he said, the man is now
killed a man?
good
2 of you
soldier.
killed
No, he said good soldier, which in the colloquialism of the time meant that he was dead. He had killed him. And I said, you've got a marvelous end to this story. You know, the end said that he had been killed. He was a good German. So I said, he wouldn't have had to be killed. He'd have committed suicide if he had realized that he was carrying 2 photographs of a Jewish woman. And they wouldn't print it. Absolutely would not let out the news that I was Jewish because they were afraid that it would spoil business. All kinds of prejudices would surface. I want you to know that a general of these United States, whom I was out with, a general pledged to protect all the people of the United States. When he said to me, "What are you?" I said, "I'm a Jew." And he said, "Who are you trying to scare?" A general. Now, I've had a lot of these
Generals, yeah,
experiences,
I know.
and
The bigotry.
it
The
didn't matter.
bigotry
One
is
moment,
incredible.
I was a desirable woman,
No,
and the next minute, I turned green and grew horns. But one must try to deal with it as best you can. You know, I asked people, what did a Jew ever do to you? And they said, you walk along the street, you see all the names on the windows. I said, no, what did a Jew do to you? And they said, my friends. I said, no. What did a Jew do to you? And I've never
How did we
gotten an
get to
answer.
this?
It's wonderful.
The fact that you've dated generals, this is a long, roundabout way for you to tell me that you have been friendly with the general.
Let me tell you
And I'm
something
sure an
marvelous.
admiral has crept in.
Yes.
Now,
Now,
not to mention,
what do you mean crept in?
No, I
I'll
don't
tell
mean
you.
that. Hold it. We
Now-
got to go to a. I'm sorry.
All right, but I've got
I'm
to
off my
answer
mark.
that when we come back, because I want to tell you about women in show business who attract people from
Tell me
all
about
over
the
the
spoilers,
world,
yeah,
from the
okay.
king of Yugoslavia
Yeah,
to
okay.
steam fitters, and you have these exhilarating, marvelous experiences merely because you are on view. And you are accessible. Most people can get to you and say, I am so-and-so, I'd like to meet you, Miss Britton, and you meet them and have delightful experiences.
I'm sure. We'll be right back for her delightful experience. You created images on stage that were a counterpoint, absolutely, to how you were in life, both
That's
of you. In
true.
the sense, you both gave off sexual emanations. I mean, you were both beautiful. You are beautiful to this day, and you both exude sensuality. And yet, you were both, you I know, and you I have read about extensively and will come to know. Now, you both are exciting, vivid sexual personalities in your performances. And in private, you're very conservative, both of you. You didn't drink or date.
No.
You didn't smoke, drink.
Yeah.
You hardly did anything, and then only under great
Because
pressure.
all of me was on stage. I was assaulted constantly from the time I was a little girl with the sexuality. So therefore I was able to simulate it on stage, but I couldn't carry it off stage. I was very, very uncomfortable with it. I did not understand it. There was nobody to explain to me. It seems impossible that in those years you would be representing the epitome of sex on stage and know nothing about it off stage. I remember George G. Nathan, the
Critic.
revered critic, used to take me to opening nights. I remember once in a taxi. This
She's an
thing
intellectual,
sounds so
you know.
I
I mean,
see.
I have known her as a great friend for 30 years. And I'm here to tell you,
Oh.
she's got a brain
Thank you.
that surpasses her bodily
He's really
dimensions.
hung up on that body thing.
No, that's what
No,
she's
I'm
famous for.
teasing. I know.
But let me tell you something. George G. Nathan, and it sounds so unsophisticated, but the whole world was unsophisticated in those days by comparison with today. He kissed me in the taxi cab, and I ran into Leon Netties coming back to my boss, Eddie Davis, who's still alive and healthy and 88 years old down in Florida, all his marbles. But anyway, he said, "Why are you crying?" So I said, "Well, he kissed me, and I don't really know whether I was supposed to kiss him back. It was such a stupid, idiotic situation for a girl working in a nightclub not to know what was right or wrong, but there was just nobody to tell you in those days, especially somebody who was supposed to know it all.
Well, you were an orphan, so...
No, I
for
had a
anyone
mother and
tuning
a
in
father,
late,
but they
yeah, right. They
gave up on
abandoned
me,
you.
yes,
They abandoned
when
you.
I was 2 and a half.
And you went to 15 different foster homes. You were in an orphanage. There was nobody to tell you whether kissing was right or wrong or how to do it right. But I'll tell you, people have told me you learned subsequently.
I hope so.
I was a product
I
of my
hope so.
upbringing.
Now,
so-
you're a Seventh-day Adventist
Yes.
in your youth,
Yes.
and that meant no frivolity, no
Right.
jollity,
Absolutely.
no simple pleasures like a movie or a dance or listening to records or whatever.
No music?
Oh, sure, music.
But
Oh,
spiritual
I was going to
yeah.
say.
And I mean, some secular things, you know.
All
but-
right, now you went all the way in your stage persona. You went in the other direction from the Seventh-day Adventists. You became, you wore platinum blonde hair. And you had a sleek, slinky, sexy body.
Yes. I think.
You didn't bring
all
a
right,
photograph
there-
of that?
No, not at all.
All right, go ahead. I'm
And yet
sorry.
off stage, you didn't date, drink.
No, I think I guess, trapped in, I don't know what it was, but like I said, I'm a product of, or I was a product of my upbringing. And it's not only Adventist, but I mean Baptist, Catholic, whatever you're. I think if you're raised in a religious, family, but that's what it is. Orthodox Jews. I mean, there are things that you just don't do, and I don't know.
I can't think of many.
Well, no, must be. For example, I was in Israel, right,
Yeah.
in Jerusalem, and I had some shorts on, and they threw rocks at me. That's right, because I was exposing my thighs.
Well, that
Well, you
was
see,
probably the
taste-
extreme
But that's what I'm
Orthodox.
talking about.
Well,
It's
taste
there.
and time are different in every culture.
It's true, but what I'm trying to show you is that it doesn't matter Adventism. There was a lot of stuff about, she was a cult, she's a member of some unknown cult or whatever. It has nothing to do with that.
Women were jealous of you, right?
Oh, women were extremely jealous
You,
of me.
women used to beat up on you.
That was
In
in
burlesque,
burlesque.
yeah.
That was that's why I left burlesque. As a matter of fact,
I
4
didn't have
people
that
got
kind of-
together and finished off my career. But that was my fault. I really did not know how to handle those people. From the time,
But you were much younger, right? You were.
I just didn't know.
You
Now-
both faced, wait a minute. You have a lot in common. You have strange and tough and awful childhoods in one way or another, deprived. You of any joy, and you of any affection, any love, any stroking and kissing. And you too.
Which is true.
Your parents were strict and not very affectionate. Also, you have an absentee father.
Sort
also
of
you both.
absentee father too.
Yeah, absentee father. You both came quite
He
near
traveled a
to
lot.
suicide. You both were extremely depressed.
Yes.
You both have taken recourse to, I don't know, you were
drugs.
into drugs.
Yes.
You've never been into.
no, my
Your
suicide.
despair became suicidal.
In this way, because I had never had a problem with alcohol, suddenly I was instant alcoholic. In 1 month, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I don't know how many times during that 1 month, I was already smashed. My friends would call, my relatives would call, and by 8 o'clock in the morning, and I did not realize what I was doing, and shall I tell you what happened?
No.
No?
Because it's too depressing. I've read
No,
it.
it's
No,
marvelous.
also we're approaching
No,
the
no,
end of
you're
this segment.
wrong.
I want to leave this segment on an up
On a
note. If you don't
That's
mind.
what I
You
wanted
are
to do.
prospering today. You're
Yes.
singing better than
Yes.
you ever sung.
Yes.
I mean, witness what we saw
Absolutely.
and heard.
Which is
that
glorious.
body, that Carnegie
Never
Hall.
mind that body.
No,
I've
but the
produced,
pictures-
I've
It's
directed, I've
wonderful.
done
No,
my
your
own show.
Magna-
I wrote my
Your
Magna cum laude.
No,
No,
Magna Carta.
Magna cum laude.
Your Magna Oh, my God.
And I hope to
Your
become
Magna
a
cum
lawyer.
laude
Yeah.
from
Well,
Fordham.
that's what I want to tell you. Out of that despair, out of that ravaged life, grew all of this productivity because I sought psychiatric help, and I was fortunate in that I found a marvelous man who was able to turn me around.
Religion saved you.
Yes.
But the personal God, one-on-one, you and God,
Yes.
not a cult.
Not
a
a, has
no.
nothing to do with that. That's what the media said, but it had nothing to do with that at all. But religion did save
You're
me.
both critics' favorites, and deservedly
Very
so.
lucky.
Yes.
My faith in critics is restored because they love you both so much.
Thank you.
Oh, that's so
Oh,
wonderful.
anyway, we'll be back.
Okay.
Wonderful.
You both have spoken and written about you in a series of interviews, which are extensive. And all the interviewers seem to fall in love with you. And I can understand why. And you, of course, are a seductress from way back, intellectually and otherwise.
Thank you, David.
But you both speak over and over again about having great difficulty in commitments, relationships with men. Now, your father deserted the family of 8 children. Your father disappeared.
Yeah.
when you were 2½. All right. Is
He-
it that memory of father desertion that makes you unable to commit
Yes,
only
I'm
with
gonna-
great difficulty to
I'm
a
not going to
meaning-
say,
a man
excuse me,
relationship?
I'm
Go
not
ahead,
going to
go
say really, maybe subconsciously. I'm not sure about that. But my big problem, David, has always been competitiveness. I never want to compete with a man. I've never wanted to compete. I mean, there's certain things maybe you can compete on or with or whatever, but there are other areas that you cannot. And I think at that time I just made so much money, so much more money than most men, you know, in just everyday life or what have you. The doctors certainly didn't want to be bothered with a performer. I mean, you know, to marry a singer or dancer or whatever this was, what, you know, what have you, because I've had them call me lewd and I know that I'm not. I'm sure you've heard worse. And I was just singing. But so I'm saying that with men, there was that constant battle with me all the time. I just never, only once in my life did I find that guy whom I thought was just it. And it disappointed
Now,
me.
why your trouble? Because your father ran
Well,
away?
my area was entirely different. It was a case of rejection. And all of my life, until this marriage, it was saying, well, I'm going to reject you before you reject me. That's why I was all right during the engagement. But when it came down to the nitty-gritty, proving myself in marriage, I was afraid, I guess subconsciously, that he was going to take off, as my father did, and I wasn't going to take that chance. It seems invalid now that I know, and it seems simplistic, but you don't know. This is only in retrospect that you are able to judge how you felt and what was wrong and try to correct it.
And then also another thing, living up to that image, seriously, I hate to say it, in bed, living up to that image, people have this, oh, sexy, this, whatever it is.
Oh, that's a
this
pressure.
fantasy that they have. Seriously. And
That's
so
a
they
pressure.
want you to move that right into bed.
Well, I always said
Or
that
what have you.
everybody always adored me, but nobody loved me.
There.
When they
True.
found
Yeah.
out, you know, say that I was just a basic human being,
Yeah.
and that I brushed my teeth and did other necessary
Nobody
things.
wants to know that.
No, they put you on a pedestal, and this is the way they want to regard you, and this is all they want in return from you, a pretty ornament.
Yeah.
These laws that forbid tasteful men from talking are very frustrating.
Which laws?
The unsaid laws,
Spoken laws.
the gentleman code. Now, damn it, there were people that didn't put you on a pedestal. There were people who didn't fantasize about
But
you.
they never came
Oh,
forward.
that's true. We're just
See?
speaking about
In
another
general,
complication,
yeah.
another contribution to our difficulty in handling relationships. That's just another facet of it. It's not the whole story. It never is.
You did have splendid
Relationships.
relationships.
Absolutely.
You did have
Yes.
some.
Yes.
Now, what made those men able to communicate, not fantasize that you are the goddess of sex?
I'll tell you why. Because they were intelligent enough, they were non-threatened enough to be able to see the woman as a whole.
Yeah.
One man that I'm thinking of particularly was one of the most exhilarating people that I have ever met in my life, because he was using all of me. He was using me emotionally, intellectually. There was a great deal more than just that one sexual facet of
But
me.
also during that time, though, these men wouldn't
And that
marry.
was you, David.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Problem
That
there.
was
but
you. Yes.
These men, there was too much pressure. They certainly wouldn't marry. Serious.
They wouldn't marry?
Wouldn't marry. That's right. I've had beautiful relationships with men, but there was too much pressure from family. I had a lot of that.
Now, wait a minute.
Serious.
I've read your biography very carefully. You say that you've had great difficulty dating and caring about black men.
Well,
Most of
yes.
the men in your life that have had meaning for you were white.
And the black men in my life were, I never knew too many black men in my life. I didn't have that many black men in my life.
'Cause you
In
didn't
what
have a
field?
chance to
I
meet
didn't,
them?
right. I never worked in club. Where I worked, when I worked at the Copa.
Cabana, New York
That's
City.
right. I think I was the first identifiably black woman to work at Copa. So you know they didn't have black audiences.
No. They
No.
did.
My biggest black audience was when I went to the Apollo at some point, and I was scared to death to do this.
Up in Harlem.
Yes, but it was the most fantastic thing in my life to have done it. But I never had, and what few black men I met, and this is a terrible thing to say, but the black men that I met during those times were either guys who were hustlers, pimps. I didn't need a pimp in my life. I didn't need a hustler in my life. And I hate to say, but it's true that not that they wanted me to change my life. I made more money than any prostitute could, but I don't know. It was a strange kind of thing. But thank God, black men have changed.
Have they?
Yes.
Considerably?
Oh yes. Oh yes. There's
That's
much
good.
more respect. There's
Listen, there are
a
black
thing-
governors. No.
Oh, that's a
There's
wonderful
black
thing.
mayors. They're by the bushel.
Well, I
Black
meant,
awareness is
your
encouraged.
attitudes, for example, toward a black woman performer. I meant.
Well,
that
a congressman
specifically.
like, for example, let's theorize, a congressman like John Conyers of
But we're
Michigan.
talking
Yes.
now. So
He
we're not
would be an
talking-
intellectual equal.
Yes, but
he
we're
would
not-
find her ravishingly. He's probably married with my luck.
Sure.
But, oh, your luck.
But you see, you have to remember, see, the men of my age, after all now, their parents didn't want it. I represented something else. I represented what they saw. They didn't think about the person inside. I was a sex
Never.
symbol, and as far as they were concerned, I was sleeping every trip, every ladder, every rung of the ladder. I slept my way up. This is as far as they're concerned. They had no idea what kind of person I was.
And didn't want
or
to know.
am. No. But you see, whatever sex I exuded, and I think, I used to have men come and beat the dressing room doors down. I mean, and look at me thinking I was ready to just, right then and there. And I'm wondering, what's going on with you? What's happening? I didn't know that I exuded that kind of thing, or that kind of sensuality. I didn't realize
You
what
didn't
it was
try.
then.
It was
and
there.
I didn't try.
You didn't try. It was
So
just there.
whatever happened in their minds, and so if their parents, so I was a young woman and with young guys, but their parents, I remember one situation, I was going to marry a fellow and his parents were just, I mean, it was horrible, and they did, they got it and busted it up, absolutely, absolutely, and they didn't know a thing about me.
What's true with you ladies today? You're married and happily. You're going to go to law school.
But at the same time, I'm still pursuing my stage career. I've just recently come back. I did an absolutely adorable musical in which I did one of the leads. I did a sexy villainess. You see, the devil's concubine, a seductress.
That would suit
and
you.
That was
That's a tailor-made role.
And I loved it, and I loved my songs, and I'm trying to coordinate the two careers. Law school will not be until next September.
Right.
So I want, and I will be doing more theatrical things meanwhile.
Right. Now is there a man in your life? Are you happy today?
I'm happy, but there's no man in my life at the moment.
Well, you can't be happy without
No,
a man.
I'm happy.
I beg your pardon, that's a
am
male
happy.
chauvinist
Well, a man
attitude.
can't be happy without a woman
Well,
in his life.
You're happier with a man, but
Yes,
that doesn't
but
mean
that
that
All
his
right.
life
preclude
is a
happiness,
desert.
right.
Would you like to be happier? You're such a
Certainly,
literal
that would be
person.
wonderful.
Excuse me.
It would be wonderful. No, that would be lovely.
What
But you
age
must
can you
also-
describe
but you see, dear,
the dimensions
also,
of what the criteria?
The man, in my age bracket,
How old should
Okay.
he be? You're, of course, 39.
of course 39. So, I mean, he could be 10, 12, 15 years younger.
Then you're-
Really?
yeah.
I don't see
That's
anything
a
wrong
phenomenon
with
that
that.
depresses
neither
me,
do
that new
I.
women are now turning to younger
I think
studs.
it's wonderful.
And
not
they
studs. Why would you
love
say
us.
that? No, I think it's wonderful. I really do. I
Do
think
you
it's
really?
I mean, men have been doing it forever.
Yes,
See,
going
they
out
drop,
with young. Yeah.
they drop people like us, people our age is right, and they find a nice little young thing. That's how they put it. Okay.
I resent the generalization.
I do too, but point
It's
is,
a
valid
it's true.
one.
But
I
it's
happen
true.
not
David.
to like young things. I told a young
Then
thing
you're
from
unusual.
my office
Yes.
because we were having a quiet supper, and I said, I have nothing to do. Do you want to have a bite of dinner? It was dinner. And she shall be nameless, but I said to her in the course of the meal, you know what, I miss Tide Power. And she said, I've never driven one.
Tyrone Power.
So, there are,
Where are your bridges? All your bridges are gone with younger people.
yes,
That's what you
so
also-
you men liking young things, don't class all of us together. because I don't like young things. I have nothing to
What is
discuss
there?
with
There's
them.
a saying, we're not getting older, we're getting better. And I believe that.
You are getting better.
I believe that.
Well, let me tell you something. I will say this one thing about my husband and nothing else, that I wish all of my friends and my enemies, if I have any, a relationship such as I have with my husband. If that was so...
Is he a
if
younger or older man?
He is a little older. If that were so, if all my friends and enemies, I wouldn't have any enemies. And I wish you this kind of
And
relationship.
I don't want to end it with this saying, I just want a younger man. No, I'm not putting an age limit on the guy, but most
You're
men
not closing off the
right.
options.
Most men my age really are looking for younger.
Oh, they are. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, but that's because they're limp intellectually and they're limp physically. And a truly young woman makes no demands in either department because the Keynesian curves are fascinating. The male is at his zenith physiologically, sexually, at 18, 19. And he's there. And then there starts a kind of a gradual descent. It's simply a fact. And by the time he's 30, he's here. And at 40, he's here. At 50, he's here. A woman's curve, on the other hand, she's no place in her teens. This is Keynesian, proved experimentally and clinically. Keynesian curve for a female, she's plateauing in her teens, and she's taking a mild little bump in her 20s. In her 30s, she takes a precipitous upward. All right, 40, she's going that way. 50, she's that way. And she's leveling off around 65.
David, you're speaking
So don't
about
you see-
one little bit of the whole human being. You're
No, but do
talking
you mind
about
if I
one little
just...
bit.
All right, Ken's... Yeah.
What about all the rest of the personality, of the persona,
I was
of the
explaining
person?
only why you see idiotic older men with 22-year-old girls. Because they don't want much on a physiological or intellectual level, a sexual level or physical or a psychic level. They don't want much of a woman, and a young woman doesn't want too much there and hasn't got too much to give. So it's an ideal mating of witless people.
I'm trying to think of this movie producer who was married to Olivia de Havilland. What's his name? William.
Olivia de Havilland was married to
William.
not Dos
Dozier?
Passos.
Yeah.
William Dozier.
Dozier.
No.
Okay.
He married her sister.
Joan Fontaine.
John Fontaine.
Okay.
Now let's back up.
All right.
Olivia de Havilland had an acting sister, Joan Fontaine. Joan Fontaine married an old friend of mine named William Dozier, a producer.
Okay. William Dozier and I had a date.
I don't want. Is this going to turn out all right?
No, I'm just saying that he was so utterly confused by me, and I was so utterly confused by him that the whole date was a dud. He expected me to be a bubblehead. And when I didn't turn out to be that way, he really couldn't cope with it. He was left...
That's true of Bill Dozier.
He really could not cope with this situation of somebody who wanted to say...
An egghead in a sex symbol body is quite discomforting.
Whatever it is, he could not cope with it. It was really one of the most disastrous dates that I've ever had. Joseph Skank, on the other hand, taught me a marvelous lesson.
Yes.
You know what he said to me?
No, what did he say?
We went up to his hotel room, suite. For what reason, I don't know, but I was young and naive. He attempted to kiss me, and when I turned my face, he said, "You don't want to kiss me, do you?" I said, "No." He said, "Don't ever do anything you don't want to do." And that was a lovely lesson, and I have adhered to it.
He said no to
the
me
rest of
several
my life.
times. I didn't want to kiss him. I didn't want to kiss him. I was trying to sell him movies. No. He was a big movie executive. Listen, you said, I want to quote you, Joyce Bryant. You said this, in essence, in May '73, "We older ladies are put out to pasture well. I'm not ready to graze. I want back in. My life is not over. It's just beginning."
Lovely.
Right. Absolutely.
You feel the same way?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Let me tell you something. I had a great-grandmother and a great-grandfather of 110 and 112. I have at least another third of my life to go. And I am becoming more and more productive as time goes on. I have more compassion. I have more understanding. I recognize my capabilities and am able to discharge my responsibilities much more forcefully than I ever. I recognize what I am capable of doing at this point in my life, and I am able to speak up without fear and implement every productive desire that I have. So
I'll
therefore,
drink
I
to
believe.
that. I just want to say it's been a lovely evening, and I have had a wonderful time, and I'm sure
So
the
have I.
audience has enjoyed it too.
I've
As for you, we're going to do a 1-hour special, Joyce
Okay.
Bryant. I want you to know that.
Thank you.
And as for you, I'll think of something.
You've
Thank
been
you,
thinking
David.
of things.
We'll be back. We will be back. I have had an excellent evening, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I thank you, Joyce Bryant and Sherry Britton.
Thank you,
Thank
David.
you.
That's it for this week. If you enjoyed it, come back again next week. We'll see you then. Same time, same station. Till then, good night.